Hey, welcome back to the channel. And on this episode, welcome to the casino. We're going to be covering high dividend investing, covered call ETFs, using margin, leverage products, all very exciting and attractive things, but high risk, high reward. Do not recommend you lobbing your whole portfolio into this. Only use a very small percentage and ultimately talk with your advisor before implementing any of these. Because what I am going to be going over is ultra aggressive. This is not for the faint of heart. I came really in tune to this stuff about a couple years ago. And I started off with YieldMax. 2024, I was doing Tesla, and we'll see right over here where I started to really go into in 2025. And I love the data points, love to track things. But you'll see that's why this particular line item here is in the green, because I started way back. And ultimately in 2025, these investments are going to mimic the underlining as well. So some of these are going down, and boy, did they take a hit in 2025. It follows suit. There's reverse splits. And this is why you always got to understand high risk, high reward. And these things are just that. So I was in, SimC, Misty, AIYY, Tesla, Murni, Mero, Coiny, Fiat, and Alti. All very fun stuff. And I was just tracking to see what was going to happen. We put in 126,000. It spat out $68,000 in dividends. The current market value at exit was 57,000. And ultimately, I know it says unrealized, but realized is about 69,000. So what does this tell us? Is every dollar that it spat out, it had decreased. And in doing so, because I'm using margin myself over here, I ended up taking an extra hit, but that's okay. We're doing this to understand how these things work a lot better, and I'm more of a hands-on type of guy. Like I said, this is just strictly for fun. Then I took the data we have here from 2026, from 2025, and I projected it into 2026. And ultimately trying to see hey, what will actually happen? Should we go ahead and do a different kind of investment? So looking at the end result, I'm like, I don't really have a whole lot of faith in it, because once again, we're looking at 126,000. No longer a single dollar invested. What is it going to do? It's not pumped out, a total of 107,000, but look at that. Not a whole lot of faith, right? So I wanted to go ahead and still track the 2026 numbers, but looking at the other names in the industry, Curve, Defiance, Yield Boost, Roundhill, I decided a change. So I'm going ahead, I locked this one in, and then I initiated the Roundhill strategy. So for 2026, I will go ahead and invest in Roundhill, and once a month, we will be checking in to see how this round of the casino is doing. We have 105,000 invested, and because these pay weekly, we're going to be logging these in to see, how they are performing. So every week, what was the dividends per share? What does that mean for us? What was the fair market value on settlement? And just tracking all the different data points. Based on 2025, I have my own assumptions on what may or may not happen. And this would be a kind of check to see, what happened here. So we can kind of compare and contrast. Ultimately, will we go from 105 to 225,000 over here? Will it spit out $123,000 in dividends with a market value that's hardly decaying? Past performance does not dictate future results. We shall see. But ultimately, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try out Roundhill. You will note that ultimately I did not decide to go into YBTC and MSTW, and that's only because when looking at all the 2025 data points, didn't perform enough where it made sense to try to go for it on this. I kept it in there. Maybe in 2026 there's a change in the overall underlining, but because a lot of these do already have some metric of crypto into them, like we have Coinbase over here, Robinhood's still into that. YPay, because it's a fund of funds, is going to have exposure into MSTW and YBTC already. I decided to go ahead and just leave that out for now. I might decide to go into it later, but because of the crypto bear market it's currently in, which, as they say, buy low, sell high, right? This might be a good entry point. but just trying to make things from, as many data points as possible. And that way it gives it a very realistic approach to it. And at the end of this year, we'll see how this matched up to the projected data from 2025. And then go into 2027, we're probably going to try another fund, regardless of how this performs over here, and just do another installation of what does this company do. It might be, Yield Burst, it might be Defiance, it might be Curve, or maybe there's new ones that come to the market. But I really wanted to kind of show like my particular numbers on this, because I see that a couple of these channels, they just talk about small little ones like, oh, what does it actually do when you see the distribution? I'm like, okay, let's show the actual losses, because I don't think anyone's too proud to show those, because they're not fun to go look at. But it's the reality that these things go into the red. And no, I am not dripping, because I'm using the funds to go pay the margin account down. And then once the margin account's down, based on strategy, we'll go ahead and we'll reload in only these funds listed here, nothing else. And that's what's going to be tracking whether or not there's any kind of traction or fruitful endeavor that comes out of this, or maybe it just ends up, every dollar in, every dollar out. The fun stuff is going to come tax time too, because then I know for YieldMax there was ROC. That's going to be, the capital return, the non-taxable dividend portion of it. But there's still going to be some taxable dividends that come through it. So that tax drag is going to ultimately impact what our overall, return is. But we're going to see. We're not going to see that for Roundhill, but as I do my taxes, then I'll go ahead and be able to, update that line item into here, and we'll be able to have a better understanding of how this overall affected us. But that's for this round of the casino. Once again, we're going to go over this once a month. If you guys have any questions regarding, any kind of particular strategy in this, or why I picked this, or maybe going over the different spreadsheets I used to determine before even picking this particular strategy, I'm more than happy to do so. This is really kind of an open forum. No, this is not financial advice. Go talk to your financial advisor before executing any of this. This is strictly for fun and maybe slightly educational, but this is this installment of the casino.